All right, welcome to the Nest Egg Builder Show today. We are happy and excited to have Nika Roback do a presentation for us. She's going to be talking about ADUs today. ADUs are becoming more popular in real estate, and she'll explain what an ADU is, how that is used, some of the benefits behind them, and where you can possibly use it in your real estate investing today. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Nika Roback. She'll speak for about 15 or 20 minutes, and then after that, we're going to go into some Q&A. So make sure if you have questions along the way, write them down. Raise your hand when we're ready for the Q&A, and we will call on each of you in order. And with that, Nika, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, I wanted to get back over here and make sure that I can share my screen. Thank you for all you for being here. I'm very excited to share this with you. Let's see. Okay, hold on. Got to start at the beginning here. So you can see my here. Let me put it on full screen. Okay. Everybody can see my screen? Yes? Okay, great. So this is my interior design business name, so Unique Interior Designs. But I created this a while back. It's still relevant now. I mean, I know a lot of people are not necessarily in California, but in California, it's just exploded, given the fact that, we have really expensive dirt here. So the idea that you can build a second home on the same piece of dirt and get to rent that out is pretty exciting for us. It is, however, these regulations, due to just the housing shortage throughout the United States, these regulations are across the nation as well. I think it's in about 20 to 30 states now, probably not as lenient as California yet, but here we just, they have really released all the regulations, just trying to promote and have people build these ADUs. So with that, I'll get started. So what is an ADU? Because when I say that to other people that are not in California, they're like, what's an ADU? It is actually called per Fannie Mae, that's an accessory dwelling unit. That's what the ADU stands for. And it's typically an additional living area independent of the primary dwelling unit that includes a fully functioning kitchen and bathroom. It can also be as a room or set of rooms inside of a single family home that has been designed or configured to be used as a separate dwelling unit. Typically, some people have had like a separate entrance in their own house, that if they had to have a bigger house, that at least someone can rent, that part out. So here are the different types of ADUs. I don't know if you guys can see this, but it's kind of annoying for me to go back and forth with it. I'm going to make it smaller. There. Okay, so here is the detached ADU, meaning that if you have a separate, usually a lot of times what people are doing is the first off is kind of a simple garage conversion, if you will. And we have a lot of detached garages here. There's also attached garages. And in the interior, like they were saying, maybe you build at the upper level on top of your house. A lot of times people are also building 2-story on their garages. The interior lower level, I guess that would be a basement, but quite frankly, if you have no windows, that might be tough. Above your garage, like I was just mentioning, or the simplest, which is the garage conversion, whether it is attached or it happens to be detached. So this just kind of goes into some explanations. Like I said, the easiest is the garage conversion because you're not having to build brand new. I don't even want to quote any prices because it's really different here in California, and even within California, you get such crazy differences in the prices. But the garage conversions utilize the existing structure, and then you kind of put in your kitchen and bathroom. You can usually a 20 by 20. You can kind of fit a 1-bedroom in there, or you could leave it as a studio. The detached garages, ADUs, are built on the property separate from the main house. They vary in size depending on your lot. So here they're saying, you could literally build, I think, up to like 1,200 square feet on the back of your house, or I mean, on the back of your lot. Usually they don't like you to build in front of your house. It's usually in the back that they want you to do it. You could also attach would be like an addition to your existing home. And as I mentioned, you could build it above your garage. So there's kind of a little side one that's called a junior ADU. And what that is that means that it is, you can build a part of your house, and or if you have existing space, you could designate up to 500 square feet of your house and classify it as a junior ADU. So they may share, your central system, and you can put like a little, more than likely, because it's 500 square feet, you can put a separate kitchen or just have like a little kitchenette. They can share a bathroom, or you can have its own bathroom, which everybody prefers to have their own bathroom. Here's just some photos of different things that I found. A lot of what you see is kind of this really cool, a little more modern. This is my favorite, where you combine sort of the wood tones with the white stucco. Very popular here, more in California. But I mean, it could look a little more traditional with the siding on the house. Here's another one that has the siding, but had some pretty colors. And here we go with their xeriscaping in California. We don't have a lot of grass because it's kind of a drought here, but and then this one's really beautiful too. Again, like I said, this is mixing several different things like the stone, a wood, and some white. This is beautiful. I love this one. And then a nice roof deck on the top. That's very popular right now, especially here in California. We're a big live indoor, outdoor area here. So ADUs give the homeowners the flexibility to share independent living areas with family members. Think, multi-generational, that happened a lot during the pandemic, that people moved back in and really all live together. Or if you have an aging parent, or maybe children that won't ever leave your house. But it gives away, or they're in college, and it's a way to save money. But another thing that people forget about is that it can actually house an in-home caregiver. So if you built an ADU in the back, then that could be where they could live. And then you can stay in your house longer as you're aging, instead of having to go to the costly assisted living facilities. Adding an ADU to your property, it's an opportunity to start earning some passive income. You can rent them out. That's what most people do, especially here. They're low impact, sustainable buildings that use less resources than your average single family home. Typically these days, if you are building and you're building to code, you're going to make choices that are less energy. I like to use the mini split system. Is really good because it's just a small unit. It can be for heating and cooling. And it certainly increases the resale value of your property, especially here. I know there's a lot of writing. I was trying to get a lot of information into this, but I can send this out to people too. That way you can kind of read it before. This is more for California, the regulations: no minimum lot size requirement, no maximum unit size limit less than 1,000 square feet for a 2-bedroom. The actually funny thing here, the HOAs must allow it as well. So that was kind of huge for us here. They can also develop JADUs. Oh, this is another one, the replacement parking. Because that's another question, and a big question, that before, when people used to have to do, if you even did a garage conversion, you had to figure out or have a way to have parking, and that was sometimes difficult, or that was sort of the restriction, if you couldn't figure out a way to have additional parking for that person. But now they have no parking requirements, because if you're within, I think it's a half mile or a mile. Did I write that in here? Yeah, here it is. With a half mile walking distance of a bus stop or of other public transportation, you don't have to create any more parking. There's no height limit under 16 feet. And the rear setbacks are only 4 feet. So that's also, they've just really changed the restrictions to allow for this to happen for pretty much everyone can probably build something in their backyard. Um, oh, the multifamily properties as well. I actually had a client that was going to build on his multifamily. They can build in the parking structure, which is crazy. I really want to live down there with all the fumes, but yeah, they're allowing you to build more on the back of your multifamily properties. This is another sort of game changer. I don't think this is, I don't know if this is in any other state, but new now as of this, I think it's this year or earlier this year, you can even do what's called, it's called SB9. So you literally have, if you have a lot with a single family home, you could split it into two lots and build on both of those, another house and an ADU. So it actually ends up being that a lot of times you could end up with four total units, which you could see here, which is crazy, and sell that second lot with a house and an ADU on it. So they're really promoting for the shortage of the housing here, and it's going to be it's a game changer. Oh, I guess you want to say future subdivision is prohibited though on those, but does not require jurisdictions to approve more than 4 units total. So this is just stages of development, whether it's an ADU or you're building a whole multifamily project, you kind of have the same thing. First, you start with an architect and designer to design it. This actually can take quite a bit of time depending on you to go back and forth. Your architect will know the setback rules and can look it up for your certain area. Here in California, I mean, it's different depending upon what city and jurisdiction you're in. So it can be quite challenging to know all the little distinct rules. There's like a big state rule, and then there's little individual ones. So you have to kind of know that and what you can check for. And then you go have your team in place. You'll start to design. That's more designing kind of the interiors, getting everything. And you have to also then go through permitting. That can take, they're supposed to be that it's supposed to only be 30 days here, but due to COVID, that was, some people are still waiting on theirs a year later, but they were supposed to have it in the California code that, they had to get back to you within 30 days. But yeah, it can take a while to go back and forth, especially, if you try to save money on an architect that maybe doesn't know all the rules or checks that out to begin with, and he may have a lot of times that it comes back and he has to make changes and then resubmit it, and then they have like a month to get you back that question. So that can draw it out in time frame for permitting. Once you have the permit, then obviously you would start to build. So depending on your city, the timing will vary from 2 to 6 months for the permitting. And depending upon what you're building, obviously, then it could, depends on how long it would take you. As you know, I'm a big proponent for the panel systems, so that can limit the time. And I have good connections for that if you're local here in California, that I can turn you on to the whole system that has the architect, the designers, contractors all in place to build your ADU. This just shows some sample plans. Here's a 2 bedroom, 600 square feet. Very good at utilizing the space. And this is a 2 bedroom, 700 square feet. And obviously some outdoor areas as well. See, this is what I was saying. Even in 400 square feet, you can end up getting a bedroom, not a very big bedroom, but you could fit it in there to where a little kitchen, your kind of living area. It's all, obviously this would be open. You make this sort of your dining island here, and then you can have a bathroom. So that, I thought that was a really good plan using the space. And then here's a 3-bedroom, 1,200 square feet, and that's pretty compact in there too. So financing, this is another one that, people ask. Oh, oh my goodness. Sorry about that. Jesus. All right. Sorry, I was trying to see the top, but I can't see my own screen because of you guys. Okay. Well, I can't read the top one, but and you can receive at fixed rates from home after the ADU is built. But anyway, basically, a lot of lenders are really getting on board with this because it's increasing the value of your house. Some of them will give you the loan based on the future value, which is really awesome of the lenders these days. And that so you can really get it financed. Home equity loans, those are also, what that is with the HELOC. Home equity loans, second mortgages, you can borrow a fixed amount. The HELOC is a line of credit, which also allows you to borrow against the equity in your home. You usually have about 10 years to pay that off. The cash out refi, we kind of missed the boat on that. That was really popular this last couple of years for sure. And then just a straight construction loan. They may have some disadvantages because you're forced to refinance, higher rates, higher fees. They may have a draw schedule, which slows down the project and kind of frustrates the contractors sometimes as well. Yep, that's it. If you want to have a QR code to you can have a calendar link for me. Like I said, if you're here in California, I can help you with the whole process or put you in touch with someone that can take care of that for you. If you're out of the state, I have some contacts for the panels, so you can have it flat packed and shipped to you, designed and shipped, and then you can have your local contractor do all the finished materials and assemble it at your house. So I'm going to stop the screen so I can take the questions. I can always come back if you want to see a screen again. Thank you.
All right, so if you have any questions, feel free to raise your hand. You can hover over the reactions icon in the bottom and select raise hand, and we'll call on each one of you. Go ahead, author Rufus.
So Nika, just in looking at the sample design you provided for the garage conversion of 400 feet, I have in my mind just a straight shot. Exactly where was the front and where was the back of that garage?
No, I have to see. Well, the way that they have it, there is a door there. There's no back. There's just one entrance. Most of the time you get rid of the garage door. So I know it's not a full square that this is. So here, let me share my screen again. And I could show you. I got this from someone else. So hold on just a second.
And I guess as a follow-up question, just in the paneling company that you work with, I'm assuming they have some straightforward detached designs, perhaps for dual level. And you mentioned you showed us one with an outdoor deck up above. So maybe they have an example of that. Is that correct? Or you have to come up with your
Examples,
own?
but it can be custom as well. So sometimes that depends on your exact space, that you have, because maybe yours isn't exactly 20 by 20. Maybe it's 17 and a half or 18 by 19, so it's going to be made to fit your house. The architect will do the drawings for you, but there's some samples that you could say, oh, I like this, can we build this? And They'll create the designs specific to your place. Like I said, this wasn't a case study. I found this design, so I was like, oh, this is really nice design. But you know, I wasn't a part of this, so I don't know where the garage door was originally. It is kind of weird that maybe this is here. You know, I would have just made like sliding doors where the garage door was, but that's me, you know.
All right, Douglas, you're up next.
Yeah, Nika, I'm fascinated. Your take on the SB9 stuff. It looks like you can do up to 4 units without approval. I mean, how much?
Well, you still have to get approval.
Yeah, I'm curious about to what extent it shortens the construction process.
The SB9 doesn't, the panels shorten the construction process, but the SB9 is just a new law that you can build more, and it's more about splitting your lot, the SB9.
Okay.
And that's newer on my radar. I actually added that even in here, just that one shot. But I mean, I just heard about it not even that long ago, and I was like, oh my God, are you kidding me? I can't even believe it. They literally are allowing you to split a lot and build not only one house, but then a house and an ADU. That's crazy. I mean, obviously, if you have a, you know, you have to have a big enough lot, but to do that, I mean, you still have some constraints as to, you know, how big you can build it on the lot, but they've really, you know, given like, oh, you only have to have 4-foot setbacks. It only has to be sometimes 8 to 10 feet from their first house for the ADUs. So they're really helping by taking those restrictions away. But the SB9 is newer to me, but I was surprised that, you know, you can split a lot is easy. It used to be a lot harder. That's what they're saying, is that they put the law into place to now make it to where you're allowed to and not have the pushback as hard anymore.
Tilted in your favor, at least.
Exactly. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
So Nika, it seems like that these have been called in the past a bonus room or a frog finished room over garage or a garage room conversion or a mother-in-law suite. So is that in essence what these are, and there's now a formal name for it as ADU?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Call it whatever you want, but
well, that's good to know. Okay, it looks like
That's
Douglas
actually
has
my
his hand
friend Dylan is here on my link. That's why he's got his hand up here.
Oh, but that's Dylan. Well, Dylan, go ahead then. You'll need to unmute yourself.
Yeah, no worries. So when doing something like this and going into the like a confined area for somewhere, why not just go through the process of picking up a 10, 15 unit or try buy, you know, multiplex property, opposed to going through the whole process of adding entire sections and segments to a lot, you know, splitting it apart, building all these other things.
So you're saying, why go through the process of splitting a lot? Why not just buy a 15-unit multifamily?
Yeah, just
Is that your
anything.
question?
Yeah.
Well, yes. The thing is that this was meant more for like homeowners that now have, or if you're an investor that you had a single rental property that you can build something in the back. I think it would still be, especially here in California, a whole lot less than buying a 15-unit multifamily to just build one unit at least. It's just maximizing what you can get out of a land that you've already paid for the land. I don't know. That's kind of a weird question to say. Why don't you invest in multifamily, a 15-unit multifamily, than building a one house behind your house? I don't totally understand the question on that.
It seems
As an
like doing
investor,
ADU.
We're
Yeah.
trying to figure it out from a logistical standpoint. You know, if I have a house, I don't,
Mhm.
you know, it's my house. Why do I want someone kind of living in, you know, my backyard, so to speak?
Sure.
Now, if you are doing the rental side of things, you know, someone who rents a home, they're renting a home because it's the home and it's the property. So then you go in and throw, you know, a small building in the back for someone to live in. If I was renting a home personally, if you did that to me, I'm not renewing my lease.
Right.
But that's
Yeah.
me, and of course everyone's
Sure.
different. So
Yeah.
my question is, are you going to run into those types of issues? And if this is a route and avenue that you're trying to look towards and go down to, why not just save yourself that potential risk and trouble and go and buy, a duplex or a triplex or something, and then run those multi-units that way? I understand it from the value add on a property, getting the most for your property proposition. But I think the potential cons and conflicts that may arise out of doing this may outweigh the potential reward that you're going to see over the long term of value add.
Well, I think you're thinking from a straight investor standpoint, which is true. I mean, you got to decide what you're doing, but also the thing about it is that, okay, that's the one caveat that you're like, oh, if I'm renting to person in front, what, some stranger in the back. But think about it, if you built that and then you sold it, I mean, how many more people are excited that they have multi-generational, that they want to move their whole family and generations in, or that they need it for a caregiver. I mean, there's all of those possibilities that are there too, instead of just the one restriction of like, oh, two strangers don't want to live next to each other. There's a lot of people that are together and that need a big commune, or that need multiple housing and places to have separation. Like I said, like students, older kids that can't afford to go buy themselves a house, but they don't want to be living with their parents, but they can live in a house behind the house, so it's more looking from that standpoint that the people are the benefits, and especially as a homeowner that they're looking for it, that maybe if they're choosing to build, then they can get extra rental income from it. Not so much as like an investor that's going, I have $100,000. What's the best way to use my $100,000? Then yeah, maybe you should go do a multifamily. But if you have an existing house in California, that for $200,000 you can get money coming in, paying your mortgage, that's gold here.
Does the model extrapolate further outside of California?
Like I said, I mean, it's it's in a bunch of different states, but of course it makes more sense in the high value areas because, I don't know if you're in California, but for here, I mean, you can't even get in LA area. I mean, you'd be hard pressed to find something for $800,000. Small, like 1,000 square foot house, like tiny. So if you could build an extra house on the back of 800 square foot house for $150,000, that's why we're like, why wouldn't you do it? Because you can't even go get a house for $800,000. You just build another one for $150,000 on the same piece of land. That's what's exciting for California. Yeah, you're right. I mean, why would you build it if the house is only worth 100? Why would you build something in maybe other states that might not make as much sense? I see some other things come through on the chat, but
Yeah, I popped a couple of things in the chat real quick. So one of the things I put in there was some people may just want extra income so they can have more cash flow and create more options, because with that extra cash flow, maybe they want to potentially pay off what they have a little bit early, or maybe they want to leverage that money out and use that for other investments, or maybe in some areas where property values are extremely high and the amount you pay on a mortgage each month is also very high. It's a great way to offset that higher mortgage cost. And then another thing that I had put into chat, is if you have a company, like let's say an S Corp or a C Corp, and you want to be able to create an office outside of your home for tax benefit and then turn around and rent that to that company and then receive tax benefits from that. That's something else that you can do. Check with your accountant and CPA. I'm not an accountant or CPA, so check with your own.
There's
But that could be a strategy as well.
So the tax benefits are there, but they actually carry through to the individual. But that's a whole separate conversation.
Yes.
It looks like Alvin has his hand up.
How's everybody doing?
Hi, Alvin.
I apologize for not being on camera today, but just I was listening to Doug's commentary, and it was really, it was yeah, there was a lot of validity to what you were saying, but just speaking as somebody who actually was a homeowner out here in California, one of the first things that I actually did when I bought my house was I started designing the actual plan to build a separate, living unit in my backyard because I had a pretty sizable lot for California. It was about 10,000 square foot lot. So those are actually big
Oh,
for
wow.
California, believe it or
That
not.
is. That's
Yeah,
huge.
so yeah, it's. I mean, you won't believe what I paid for it. I paid under 200,000. This is like right around
Wow.
2010 when I got this house. So swimming pool, 3 bathrooms. It was a great
Wow.
house. But the point is that the first thought was, okay, my parents are getting older. They want to spend more time with the
Yeah.
kids. So why don't I go ahead and figure out how I can build a separate unit in the backyard. My wife's parents, they were getting up there in age too. So that was a major concern at that time. Now, had ADUs been around at that time, it would have been a no-brainer for me. Aside from that, I remember when I was looking around for houses when I was still living in Tucson, and one of the houses that I always remember going to was a house where these guys had an actual a guest house in the backyard, and it was like full kitchen, living room. It was a 1 bedroom guest house, and it was like we were seriously considering getting that house just because it had the guest house in it. And the deal never worked out, but it was just those are just one of those things that sometimes when you're a family person, little things like that could be a luxury item. And then even from the standpoint of just adding like an extra $500 or $600 a month to the family budget is a really big deal. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
it, even in California where, where your mortgage might be $4,000, it would still be a big deal just to add that little extra every month because everything helps.
Yeah. Well, here it's not an extra 500, it's an extra 2,000 that you could
But that's
get.
even
So
better. So
exactly. No, I'm serious. People can rent their garages for $2,000. That's the point.
you know
If you're
what?
not
I
from
have a
California, you
friend.
don't get that, yeah.
Well, I have some friends that actually started a company building ADUs, and one of the things that they're starting to do is develop a whole marketing plan around the idea that you could take one of these and use it for your business. So, like if you have like a
Yeah.
car lot or something like that, instead of building a building, you could just buy an ADU and plop it right in there, just like you would a regular mobile home or something like that. But different applications for it are starting to be thought of as well. Good
Yeah,
presentation,
Nico,
Nika.
Thank you.
one of the things that I liked, was something that you brought up where you can actually borrow against your HELOC. If you have a home equity line of credit, borrowing against the HELOC to build something like this. So someone may not have that cash sitting around where they may invest that in different types of alternative investments, but they can borrow against their HELOC and build something that can generate more income for them.
Yeah. And usually you can end up, from that income, you pay that back pretty quickly, that then it becomes that it is more generating it, because you have to pay it back for the construction. But and if you know me, I got good people here, but for the garage conversions anyway.
All right, it looks like Doug has his hand up with a question. Go on, Doug.
Hey, not really a question, but just another idea. I know I've never lived in California, but for example, in Louisiana, my parents would love to have their own Airbnb, but one restriction that that much of Louisiana has adopted is that the only way for you to operate an Airbnb is if you live on a property. So here's another example of why an ADU would be beneficial to someone as an investor, right? Maybe there's a lot of folks who have, they rent rooms out because they can't rent out their whole home, even if it's just a summer home in Louisiana. So they may rent out rooms of that home while they're on the property, but building a separate structure and you living in the main house, your guests can live in the other home for short-term rentals, works out great for them. So just another idea.
Yeah, that's actually a good point because depending upon the restrictions, actually here in California, you can't do short-term rental in LA proper, exactly unless you live there. If you live in the house, then like a garage, you can rent that out for less than 30 days. If you don't and it's a straight investor property, then you have to do 30 days or more for short-term rentals. So exactly for that, the same thing that due to the regulations. So you could truly run it as a short-term rental and get more. What was it? There was something else I was going to say about that. Like you said, and in your house, that's actually the least expensive because if say that your kids moved out and you still got a big 4-bedroom house, and you say, well, look, one of the bedrooms that has a bathroom off of it, you can for very easily shut the door, lock it to where you can't go into the main house, make a separate entrance, and the bedroom and bathroom's already there. Just put a barely like a little kitchenette and you're done. And you can get a lot of money in California for those.
Yeah.
I mean, they still don't have access to your main house.
Yeah, for sure. So I just want to
My-
use that as an example of something, as the gentleman was asking, does this translate outside of California as some
It does. Yeah.
opportunities for it to translate outside of California? But yeah, very good suggestion.
Well, outside of California, like you said, it could be, I mean, it could be even for family reasons, that it's not for an investor reason, but for an investor standpoint, it does make more sense dollar for dollar if you're in the higher property areas,
Yeah, for sure. As a matter of fact, as soon as you started your presentation, that's why I put that first comment in there. It's like in Texas, we call that a mother-in-law suite. Like that's
Yeah.
the first thing I ever heard of when I saw those units being added, or some had already been added to various properties. Like, yeah, that's a great idea.
Well, I'm from Texas. I think when I was in college, I lived in a apartment above a garage, So, I mean, they've been around even in other areas as well. So, yeah.
Nika, I would think something like this would also be really good for a traveling nurse.
Yes.
Yep. Absolutely.
Doug, you guys are
Well-
a lot more cordial in Texas.
They love their
Yeah,
mother-in-laws if they name it after their mother-in-law, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
California,
Yeah.
Californians just stick to the acronyms,
Think about during COVID where people needed an area that was private or separate for quarantining, as well. I mean, there's a lot of people that I know that moved back in together that had like multi-generations were helping, because the kids were at home, that everyone was like people really piled up, to where this would have been good if they had an ADU.
Next pandemic, they'll be selling like hotcakes, Nika, and you'll be right in the
Well,
driver's seat.
they're selling like hotcakes now in California, but yeah. Yeah. The SB9 though, I got to look into that a little bit more. I literally just heard about it, so I don't know the laws as well, but I mean, it seemed like basically the fact that you can split the lot and they're just not restricting it is really what it, like your 10,000 square foot house, I mean, 10,000 square foot lot. Oh my God. I wonder if you could split it twice. That was really big. At least
it
once.
would have been a thing
Yeah.
to do.
Exactly.
All right. Any additional questions? See, we got something in chat just now. You can file to split lots, right?
Yes, that's what the SB9 is, splitting the lot. They've just made it a bill. I mean, I think you could try before, I mean, it's not that it wasn't feasible before, but I think it just took longer and maybe they didn't have the lingo down as much. Like it probably just took a lot longer to where now that they've put it into a bill and passed it down to all of the agencies that they have to do it or allow for it, just like they did with the ADUs, that they were like, you have to get back in 30 days. And, Once they put it as a bill, a Senate bill, that's what SB stands for, Senate Bill 9. Then that makes it to where it's on their, in the offices that they have to allow people to do it and not try to give them a hard time getting it through.
All right, any more comments, questions?
Just to say that I learned a few interesting things that I was not aware of before.
I did too, talking to Nika about this before, we had her come on the show. ADUs were something I had no knowledge or experience with. So I'm really glad Nika did this because I picked up some new things that I didn't know before.
Well, a lot of the regulations were specific to California. You have to check with your local ordinance for what you can do. But like I said, I've been hearing that it's in it, I think at least 20, if not maybe 30 states that are definitely starting to allow it. Because I mean, our housing shortage isn't just here, it's everywhere, so.
The whole country is experiencing it right now. And
yeah,
I know in some places that, kids are moving back in with their family because they can't find anywhere to live that's affordable. So this could also be an option in some parts of the country to, have your kids be able to live close to home without being in the home, if you know what I mean. So it just provides options. If Adele's laughing.
Yeah. But you're absolutely right about that, though, Cliff, because there are a number of parents who build those studio apartments above their garages for their kids to take that first step outside the house. But the things that's becoming somewhat popular down here in Texas are pad splits, where we're single family homes into multi-person dwellings, so that folks can live together, save on the rent, etc. And they share the common areas, but you may take a 4-bed, 2-bath home and turn that into 4 people, sometimes adding 1 or 2 more bedrooms, and now you've got 8 people living in that single family home.
That does seem to be a really good strategy for larger cities, where you have several pad splits around, because when you start putting 4 different strangers or 5 different strangers under one roof, you're inevitably going to have some type of personality conflict and need to juggle people around. So if you have 2 or 3 of those in an area, then you can move people from one place to another to help mitigate those conflicts.
Yeah.
Right. I know. And then Gil asked a question, can you buy a large lot and build multiple ADUs on it? It depends on the size of the lot, and you have to kind of check how many, because I've been hearing that you can, you could build up. So keep that in mind. You can build multi-story. I actually had a developer here that even kind of before this whole ADU thing, that was her play. Like, that was her little niche, is that she'd find a single family house on a lot that was already zoned for having multifamily, and she would build 2 multi-units. I think it was, 2 duplexes. So it became 4 units, but they were multiple story. They were like 2-story or sometimes 3-story. So you could fit it. And she actually fit that on a 6,000 square foot lot. And that was her deal. That was her niche with it. And she did very well with that. It was mostly in Koreatown that they had it, the large lots. And she would tear down the single family house and do those. So yes, even before I guess it was during the time of the ADU, but she just found one that was already zoned to get around that. But now they're allowing, that's what I'm saying. Now it's like, even regardless of the zoning, they're allowing you to build, and you have to kind of see your lot and figure out how big you can build, or maybe, 2 of them, but they are allowing 2. You could have a junior ADU and an ADU, or possibly 2 ADUs, depending upon your lot. But you have to kind of go in and ask for it's different in every ordinance. So
Nika, we just got another question in chat. Do they require additional insurance or special type of insurance?
I don't think that matters. I would obviously, no matter what you're doing, whether it's an ADU or you're doing a flip, get construction insurance while you're doing it. It's always better. And the same thing, if you're going to be renting, then you should get proper rental insurance because you can have loss of income on that. Yeah, you can't, you always want to get the proper insurance no matter, even if you were renting a regular house or building a new one. If you have a renter, get proper rental insurance for sure, not just homeowners insurance. And while you're constructing, whether you're flipping or building, get construction insurance. It's a specific type of insurance. Yes. Always get insurance.
Yeah, so I think, if I'm not mistaken, maybe the nature of her question is if there's a special type of insurance. And I don't think it would require a special type. It's just that, now that you had this $800,000 home that you just added this ADU to, then now you've got more of a structure that needs to be insured. So maybe
Right.
$1.2 million worth of insurance, whereas you only needed 800,000. But aside from that, I don't think it's anything special.
Well, keep in mind that an ADU is classified as an additional, meaning it has a different address. So you would have possibly two separate policies, or you would add something onto your regular homeowner's insurance policy, but it's kind of a separate policy because if you're renting one out, so it would be separate, or at least an additional rider of some sort, I would think. But yeah.
It's been a while since I've taken the class, but I think they have something special for stuff like that.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they would by now because it's been, like 2 years since this has been a thing?
Actually, they started because there's a girl that has been building ADUs here that speaks a lot at the local meetings. That she said she's been building ADUs since 2017.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, I think that was when it first was 2017, 17, 18.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's gotten really popular over the past like 2 years.
Yeah, well, I didn't start having conversations with anybody until like the end of 2019.
Yeah, that's about when I did too. Yeah.
Yeah, so if she says that she's building ADUs, does that mean that she's specifically going out buying single family homes and then purposely building an ADU so that the resale value is so much more? Is that what she's doing? Or?
Well, she was a flipper. So she was flipping and then realized that she could get more, out of the house from building it. And some of them, I think when she first built them, she decided that she was going to keep some and rent them out. So she built them on the ones that she was keeping, but she was a flipper. Yeah. But I mean, as a flipper, it actually takes a really long time to build. So I don't know, unless you're counting that into your hard money, it might be not so much unless unless you're planning on buying and holding. Probably makes more sense for that.
All right. Any final questions? All right. If there are no final questions, we'll go ahead and close out the recording for today. Thank you all for participating, and we will see you next week, same time, same channel. Thank you.